Hey guys, so I've re-recorded this a few times, and originally I wanted to do a more Shadestep related video. I thought I wanted this to be a Shadestep tutorial, but I started realizing that's not actually what I wanted to do. What I mean by that is I wanted to make a guide on more than just Shadestep. I wanted to make a guide about being evasive, or being quote-unquote slippery on the Nightstalker. You can be very good at Shadestep, but you can also be very bad at being evasive. Most people have seen sweaty games or just a very clutch moment for a Nightstalker where they dodge rolled around and shotgun someone in the face and won a round. This is more about making a slow clutch moment or playing defensively until you get the chance to be aggressive. One thing about Nightstalker is maybe you tend to tap out of more fights than you end up winning. Shadestep allows you to do that if you know how to be evasive. So first off, click anywhere here for different parts of this video, or just skip to the timestamp of what you want to see, since I'm sure some people understand Shadestep on some basic levels and might just want to skip around. Skip to the end or the last timestamp if you want to see more of what I mean by being slippery. So first up are the absolute basics of Shadestep. You initiate Shadestep by pressing BB or circle depending on your console, and blah blah blah. You're not here for that, you should know that by now. What some people don't seem to know about the dodge roll is that it's not a linear one movement. It has what looks like 3 different movements built into one press of BB, or I guess 2 presses of B. The first movement is controlled strictly by the left thumbstick, but the other 2 are controlled by the right thumbstick, which means that with the other 2 directions, you can curve the roll in whatever direction besides the opposite of the direction you chose in the beginning. So, let's say you go forward and roll. You can't roll backwards with the other 2 movements. You can, however, move left or right, or even left and right using the right thumbstick. You can also do this by going backwards, but doing it backwards means you have to move the right thumbstick in the inverse direction of the way you would have done it normally. So left on the right thumbstick going backwards makes you go right, and vice versa. If that's not clear through my voice, I think I'm probably going to show it on the screen right now, and what I mean. That is the most ultimate basic I can tell you that people do not utilize. It's a big part of being slippery. With this technique, you can literally roll circles around people to confuse them, and if their sensitivity is lower than probably 5, they won't be able to keep up with you. And then there are the more well-known things about Shadestep. You can use Shadestep to get a third-person view of what's going on. This is really helpful. Most people know that just by doing it one time or watching someone else do it. Another basic thing is that there is a cooldown for the dodge roll, much like Blink. You get 2 rolls and then you have to wait for one to cool down. In the time that takes to jump, you should have exactly 1 roll back by the time you hit the ground. But they don't both come back at once. You have to wait for both of them to come back if you want to use both, which is why sometimes people end up teabagging instead of rolling twice. And that's literally all I have for the basics, so let's just go ahead and move on from basics and talk more about PvP situations. First up is when you get stuck on something. It helps a little bit with your clumsiness. Second is it's helpful for escaping all kinds of grenades except for sticky grenades sometimes. It's a good skill to use when you have cover, so let's say smoke or a grenade is blocking you from the enemy. It doesn't provide safety from aim assist, but it is a visual cover and might just save you. So if there's a grenade blocking you, you can Shadestep over to another side without the enemy even noticing that you moved sides. So basically a bad grenade might turn into something that saves you because it's blocking the enemy's screen. And here's an example of when not to Shadestep, or at least Shadestep better. So let's go ahead and move on to the very last part of this video. And this is where I'm going to show you combos, being slippery, and pretty much just survivability in general, which ties into slipperiness, I guess. A lot of people say Shadowshot is a really weak super, and while I do agree to an extent, I think that's because people don't use it the correct way. Shadowshot doesn't seem to have ever meant to be a panic super, and what I mean by panic super is, well, I'll show you on the screen right now. The Titan and the Warlock both have 1 panic super. Both of these can easily be panicked in a situation where you know you are mere milliseconds from dying. The Hunter doesn't have that. Not really, at least. The Golden Gun and Blade Dance are passive supers, so while you can utilize the damage resistance, oftentimes that's just a waste of your super. I think people try to categorize Shadowshot into the panic supers, but it's not really that. Nova Bomb and Titan Slam are supers that will win a situation because they are area of effect, while Tether will not win unless you're 1, extremely accurate, and 2, even more accurate than even that. You can panic it sometimes, and it does work sometimes. So in the background, I'm showing off times where it did work, or it didn't work, or whatever I'm showing, but most of the time it only works in conjunction with you being very fast, dodging bullets, or just reacting quicker than the enemy, or even using it in conjunction with other abilities. And that is how you're supposed to use it. You're supposed to use it by combining all of the Nightstalker's abilities that it has in its arsenal, and then using it. Whether or not you're combining it with trapping someone in smoke, or combining it with Keen Scout, giving you a little more of a helping hand at where to aim it, or dodge rolling and using the momentum of dodge roll to quickly quiver shot someone and also get a third-person view, which is definitely something I do recommend using because people do not see it coming, and it is probably one of the coolest things you will ever do because you are pretty much Space Robin Hood. I might make a few more of these types of survivability videos, but for now, I think that's it. I'm going to cut the video right here. So, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.